Continuing with developmental disorders, we're going to take a look at mental retardation. In mental retardation, an IQ is considered at 70 or less, and there is a Wechsler intelligence scale that's used for children. It occurs before 18 years old, involves cognitive impairment, adaptive behavior, and the Vineland social maturity scale. Causes include chromosomal abnormalities, viral infections, maternal substance abuse, hypoxia, injury to the central nervous system, and even deprivation. Diagnosis is based on an educational potential or symptom severity. Standard IQ tests are used for diagnosis, and it can also be confirmed at birth with recognition of distinct syndromes. Also, it may be diagnosed after the child begins school due to suspicious developmental delays, and there are 4 levels of classification. Mild retardation is identified as an IQ of 50 to 55 to 70. It is known as the educable mentally retarded, or EMR. They can acquire practical skills and vocational skills to provide minimal self-support. Reading and arithmetic skills up to the 6th grade level with special education can be acquired. This accounts for 80 to 85% of all mental retardation. They eventually achieve a mental age of 8 to 12 years. Moderate retardation is identified as an IQ of 35 to 40 to 50 to 55. It is known as trainable mentally retarded. They can learn simple communication and simple manual skills. They're usually incapable of self-maintenance. It does not progress in functional reading or arithmetic skills, and they may be at a 2nd grade level. This accounts for 10% of all mental retardation. They achieve a mental age of 3 to 7 years old. Severe retardation is identified with an IQ of 20 to 25 to 35 to 40. They can conform to daily routines and repetitive activities. They have some understanding of speech and may respond to training in elementary self-care. This person needs continuing direction and supervision in a protective environment, and they achieve the mental age of a toddler. Profound retardation is identified as an IQ of less than 20 to 25. There are obvious delays in all areas of development. They're able to show basic emotional responses, and they need complete custodial care. These people may respond to skillful training in their use of legs, hands, and their jaw, and they need close supervision. They achieve the mental age of a young infant. Nursing interventions when a child like this is born is to facilitate the grieving process, facilitate the decision-making process regarding management of the child, which includes community socialization and early intervention. It is the goal to normalize the child's experience, want to augment social success, and engage in appropriate social activities such as the Scouts. Self-care skills involve shaping and emphasize the 3 R's: repetition, routine, and reinforcement. You need to teach according to their developmental age and expect the results according to their developmental age. The teaching process should be repeated for each skill, 1 step at a time, and a concrete approach of doing and demonstrating. When taking care of the hospitalized mentally retarded child, assess the child's developmental level, attempt to normalize the environment, and prepare for procedures and instructions according to their developmental level. Another group of developmental disorders is described as pervasive developmental disorders. These disorders are characterized by impairments across multiple domains of development. They demonstrate varying degrees of mental retardation as well. They exhibit delayed socialization, stereotypical behaviors, and peculiar mannerisms. The types we're going to talk briefly about are autism, Asperger, and PDD-NOS. Autism is an early onset before 30 months. The cause is not known, but a strong genetic contribution seems to be recognized. There are lots of theories out there regarding autism. Is it genetic? Is it environmental? Is it nutritional? Does it have something to do with vaccines? They don't know. With these children, communication is delayed and deviant. There is bizarre behavior associated with this. There is a severe disturbance in their social relatedness. They tend to prefer inanimate objects to human contact, and there are stereotypical behaviors such as rocking, hand flapping, and extraordinary insistence on sameness. This affects about 2 in 1,000 children, and it affects boys greater than girls. Their social interaction consists of nonverbal behaviors, little eye contact. They have difficulty and a failure to develop any relationships. They don't share enjoyment, interests, or achievements with others. They lack social and emotional reciprocity. And there's a preoccupation with peculiar interests such as fans, air conditioners, train schedules, etc., etc. Communication is affected and that there are delays in language acquisition. There's a limited ability to initiate or sustain conversation. They reverse pronouns. There's abnormal intonation, rate, and rhythm. And echolalia. Echolalia is the involuntary, parrot-like repetition of a word or sentence just spoken by someone else. They are stereotypical and repetitive, and they lack make-believe play. The repetitive stereotypical behavior includes non-functional routines and rituals. The motor movements such as rocking, swaying, and swinging, and there's a preoccupation with parts of objects such as buttons on a shirt, but not the shirt itself. And there, again, the extraordinary insistence on sameness. The diagnosis is made by clinical manifestations, and you need to rule out other things such as deafness that could exhibit some similar behaviors. Also want to take a developmental history. Treatment consists of intense behavioral training one-on-one, 40 hours a week for about 2 years, and it is a highly structured environment. The family needs to continue this treatment and needs to continue these behavioral plans. Nursing diagnosis includes risk for injury related to sensory deficit and potential for self-mutilation, impaired verbal skills related to limited language skills, and impaired social interaction related to inability to develop and maintain social relationships. There are a number of theories on how to treat these children, but the key does seem to be consistent, structured environment and sameness, and oftentimes these children can be mainstreamed. Asperger's is a disorder that is becoming more and more apparent and getting more attention. It is more common in males. Generally, it seems to be identified more in adults than children. Linguistic defects are less severe than with autism, and they usually have a normal intelligence. They have inept initiation of social interactions and a tendency towards concrete interpretation of the language, and also a tendency towards clumsiness. Nursing considerations include assessment, any medical interventions that might be needed, psychosocial interventions such as behavior modification, and a therapeutic milieu which is consistent and structured with social communication skills training. If you have an hospitalized child with Asperger's or even autism, you want to decrease their stimulation, avoid touching them. They may avoid eating or eat inedible items, and find a zone of comfort, concrete and simple communication. Oftentimes, it is being found that these people with autism and Asperger's are exceptionally smart and exceptionally brilliant. This is a short video glimpse into a renowned autistic person, Ms. Temple Grandin, and if you'll notice, she is Dr. Temple Grandin, and this is a very good, quick interview regarding her experiences. She is autistic. She has done a great deal of writing, a great deal of research, and she is on the mark. She has lived it. One thing that she definitely talks about is that autism and even Asperger's, it is a perception thing as well. And one statement that she made in another clip I was looking at is that most people tend to not be aware of the details, the sounds, all of those things in their life, yet autistic people are hugely, keenly aware of all of that stuff to the point that it affects their life. So I'm going to take a moment to run this. It's only about 6 minutes long. I invite you to look up more about her and maybe learn a little bit more about autism.
Do you have one, if you could give one piece of advice to parents, what would it be?
That's going to depend upon age. It's going to depend upon age. I have to do that by age.
Let's say a younger child.
For a younger child, the most important piece of advice is doing nothing is the worst thing you can do. Worst thing you could do with an autistic 3-year-old is just let them sit and rock and stim all day. They got to get a lot of hours every week, a one-to-one instruction with a great teacher.
And what would be the most important piece of advice maybe for parents who are helping their child transition into adulthood?
That's going to depend upon the level.
Okay.
I can't answer that otherwise.
Let's say someone maybe who's kind of in the middle of the spectrum.
Okay, for a person that's in kind of the middle of the spectrum, you need to make sure that they can do basic skills. You know, showering, shopping. I was taught shopping very young. You know, I have seen high-functioning autistic kids on the spectrum, 12 and 10-year-olds go in and really mess up a store at a gas station. No, that's not all right. I was taught at a much younger age that if you're not going to buy it, you don't touch it. And this is where my 50s upbringing helped me, some of that stuff. Another issue I want to talk about are the sensory issues. And the sensory issues are hugely variable. I had a lot of problems with sound sensitivity. Another child may have problems with touch sensitivity. Another child may not be able to tolerate fluorescent lights. It's very variable. And these sensory sensitivities can vary from nuisances to being completely debilitating, and they can make some normal environments intolerable. This is an area that definitely needs research.
What piece of advice would you give for parents who have someone who's high on the spectrum and does really well, but they're transitioning into adulthood?
Kids high on the spectrum transitioning into adulthood, hopefully when they're like 13 years old, they're learning job skills, career-relevant things. They need to be doing job-related things long before they graduate from high school. One of the secrets is a slow transition, one step of life into the next step of life. But we've got to teach job skills young, and we need to develop the area of strength into an area of job skills. Another thing is, I never got a single job through a regular interview. I got jobs by showing a portfolio of my work. I sold cattle design jobs by showing pictures and drawings. And I sold my work more than I sold myself.
What kinds of services do you think are really important to help children overcome barriers?
Well, real little kids, 2, 3, 4, and 5-year-olds, many hours of one-to-one instruction with a really good teacher. There's a lot of arguments over exactly what program you should use. Everybody agrees little kids need many, many hours every week of good instruction from an excellent teacher.
Are there certain kinds of instruction that you think work better for small children?
The important thing is having an effective teacher. I've found that some teachers are effective and some are not, regardless of what kind of program they're in. But intensive one-to-ones I got that. My mother hired a nanny when I was 3 years old. We did lots of turn-taking games. Got to teach these kids how to take turns. They don't know how to take turns. That has to be taught.
Are there any other things besides taking turns, or any good stories you have about other techniques that were really useful to you?
Well, my speech teacher would enunciate the hard consonant sounds, because when grown-ups talk really fast, I thought grown-ups actually had a grown-up language. It was like, people spoke right to me, I understood them. So she'd hold up a cup and she'd say, cup, and she'd enunciate those hard consonant sounds and speak slowly. And then when I got into high school, and it shows in the movie, Dr. Carlock, he got his honorary doctorate for the movie. He deserves it, too. I can't even think about that without getting kind of upset about it. You know, you take on the high end of the spectrum, the kind of quirky, geeky kind of kids. This is where a great teacher can get a kid motivated. I was goofing around in school and not studying, and Dr. Carlock got me interested in science. I'm really concerned today about the shortage of science teachers.
What kind of goofing around were you doing in high school?
Well, I just wasn't studying. But you know what? I wasn't totally goofing around. I was learning a lot of job skills. When I was in high school, I was taking care of the horse barn, did a lot of carpentry work, was doing all kinds of things that were good job skills. I was also doing tasks that other people want and appreciate. When I was younger, my mother always encouraged my drawing ability. But she encouraged me to draw pictures of lots of different things. You know, lots of times all the kid on the spectrum wants to do is just do the same thing all the time. Maybe all he wants to do is some cartoon character all the time. Well, you could broaden it out and say, why don't you do a picture of his house or a picture of his car? Broaden it out.
What were some of the favorite things that you drew then when you were...
Oh, horses. But I was encouraged to draw a lot of other things beside horses.
When you were learning job skills, what were some of the first skills that you learned that you felt were really useful, or that made you feel like work was really meaningful?
Well, the first thing I was taught was being on time, and that was taught at a much younger age. I had an alarm clock ever since first grade, and I had to learn how to set it, and I had to learn how to get up in the morning. When I was 13 years old, my mother got me a little job with a dressmaker, hand sewing dresses. I'm seeing kids right now getting out of college, and they haven't had any jobs. They haven't delivered a paper, they haven't walked a dog, they haven't mowed a lawn, they haven't done any job thing for somebody else. And I think we've got to be working on teaching job skills.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay,
We're
you're
very
very
excited for the
welcome. Okay.
movie, and congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
We're happy to have you in Chicago.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You did great.